Good evening, everyone. Welcome to qualifying session number 2 for the Murray Bridge Glass 1500, also acting as the season finale of the Elite Breaker Mechanical Track Stars Touring Car Series. We've just joined in. We're about 5 or 6 minutes into this session. We're actually a bit closer to 10 as we speak, as we've got some drivers heading around doing some laps now. And of course, the order from last night, the CP Motorsports number 66 that we're following along at the moment, currently sitting top of the table with Diswood's lap time. Joining me tonight, of course, my usual co-commentator when I stream these events is the defending series champion in the Touring Car Series, N-Spud P666. Good evening, mate, and welcome along.
Yes, thanks, Jarman. I don't think it's going to be a defending champion for that much longer. We've only got this round to go, and unfortunately, my slim title defense is coming to an abrupt end coming towards the end of this season. But I guess we could say never. Obviously, anything could happen between the 66 in Speedy Tyres and Diswood, and yourself in the 95 with Matt and yourself, so anything can happen. So I won't count it out, but it is a very slim defense that I'm going to have. But like you said, we are here live for the finale of Track Stars Racing Series Touring Cars, sponsored by Elite Breaker Mechanical. If it wasn't for them, this series wouldn't have been up and running. So we would like to thank our major sponsor in EBM so much for their support, for getting this series up and running, and for bringing out a spectacular event and being the major sponsor for Track Stars Racing Series. But as we see, we are here for Q2, and the qualifying order from last night are as followed, with the 66 in the CP Motorsports Honda, driven by Diswood 1 and Speedy Tyres. It's set a 2-minute 54.797, then Viper Z and DGSX pointed very close behind in a very fast Lexus. They have a 254.879, then the number 50, so the two CP cars in the top three, which is a staggering result for CP and Chase in third place with a 55.802. And then in fourth place, we have the Smash Buds Racing defending champ, myself, setting 155.661, partnering alongside John O'Stan. And then we have the 95 It's Racing and Mint Matt entry Honda in the 95 It's Racing Esports with a 255.831. So very close times. It's roughly covering just over a second between the top five, but you could say that just a bit over a second around this track, Jarman, is it's not a bad thing. You don't want to put yourself down, because being at least a second behind the driver is actually not too bad, you could say.
Yeah, you could nearly say a tenth here or a tenth there, and basically you're nearly right back on them. I know myself, I looked at the optimal and I think there was probably about 7-8 tenths that I could still find over the course of a lap. I just couldn't string that perfect lap together last night, and it just, saw me just a little bit more down the order than I was hoping. And I'm sure you could probably say the same thing, that there was probably parts of the track that you could have had a bit more time to gain.
Yeah, for me, it was the first two sections of the track, but that's only covers about 55 seconds of what is about just under 3-minute lap time. So you're looking at about 255, 254, like we said. So the first 55 seconds for me, sector 1 and sector 2, I just wasn't losing too much time. It was just finding the braking markers just that little bit difficult. But then throughout the rest of the circuit, which you could say is a little bit more crucial when it comes to lap time, I actually managed to found that extra 3/10 in the final lap, dying laps of last night's qualifying, which was so awesome for me, and I was really ecstatic with that last lap performance that I set out. But yes, but it was a great evening, and our drivers, as I said, we've had our fast runners in Diswood and Viper Z in the 66 and 24 respectively. So we'll have to wait and see how their drivers go this evening. So Speedy Tyres, as you said, is leading the way with a 2-minute 55 points. I believe it's going to be a 255.2, but close behind him is actually Nightwalker 964, his teammate, and his teammate's only a tenth down on him. So that's a 0.142 down on Speedy Tyres. So Nightwalker's resurgence into the main game series is actually putting on a solid performance for the number 50 entry.
Yeah, he's shown great form since I think it no, it wasn't Brands Hatch. I believe it might have been. Trying to
The
think of an
Nürburgring.
Nürburgring that he joined in. I
Yep.
kept thinking that there was another race before it, but that was Brands Hatch. So
Yeah. And that was Speedy Tyres that filled in on that
yeah,
race. I
I,
think
I
he was
s-
there.
I
He was
vividly
playing me.
remember Speedy being there for the Brands Hatch. So I was trying to find another race in between, but it
He
clearly
was
wasn't there.
he was the ultimate wingman, you could say, for that race. So he was blocking everyone whilst trying to help Diswood get close to you. So, so you had a bit of a CP entourage coming right behind you. But like we say, so far as we're seeing in the qualifying, we have the top three occupied by Honda so far. And the fastest Lexus is DJ with a 255.8. So that's still not a bad lap time for DJ on his first flyer. So 255.8, and he's about zero point 0.5 behind Speedy Tyre. So that's a solid start, and he's gapped the field between him and Ridwan in the number 79 RSR Robo Sport Racing Nissan by about 2.3 seconds. But actually, I say that now, so Slayer's come up the field by zero point 0.4, and he's up into fifth place. So the top five runners, once again, just under that 1 second marker. But looking at this, it is the top four Hondas are in the top, occupying the top five positions at the St. Croix C.
Yeah, it's certainly boding well for the two Honda teams at the moment, and then of course disappointed being the sole Lexus in the top five. Of course, I don't think Jono Stan's put in a lap yet, so I'm sure
No, he
once
hasn't.
Jono puts a lap in, he'll be a bit further up the order. We know the class that Jono has, so you can expect him to be up the pointy end towards the end of this session.
Well, he said to me it's not his favourite track compared to the previous two enduro rounds that we've had, and I think we saw that clearly when it came to the endurance race last weekend. He was leading the race, but just a few little mistakes that cost him that victory, even a podium for the number 96 BCG Racing entry, LMP entry. So that cost him a chance to take that podium. So John Ostan's not really one for this track, but he's lucky that for his co-driver and myself, I do like this track a lot, and just been giving him a few little bit of advices here with tuning and stuff. And I mean, I don't mean me giving advice to Jono about tuning. I mean, that's a bit of a weird way to think about it, to be honest, of a class act that Jono is. But yeah, just helping him out with the car setup, and he's just trying to find a good balance. But it's still early days. This driver's got about 40 minutes of free practice running and just jumping out, fixing up the tune of the cars. And then after the last 20 minutes, they have to stay ticked in on the circuit, and they can no longer access their car for tuning wise. But as we look to the screen, we see your teammate in mid Matt Simmons, has come through with a blistering time with a 2 minute 54.7. And I'll tell you what, Jarman, that is actually faster than the number 66 in Diswood 1 in the Sequel Motorsports entry.
Yeah, that's a very fast time there, and just knocks him off the top there. So might have to do a bit of reshuffling with the screen at the moment.
I'll let you take care of all of that. But that's something about, if you look at it, it's not too bad, and he's actually still going purple. So this is a lap that we have to really keep an eye on here. So obviously for myself, just jumping in the lobby, helping you out, of course, but I can actually see Matt's progress. I'll look through his lifetime, and yeah, so he's up. He's up in sector 1, and he's doing personal best in sectors 2 to 4, but he's coming through to the end of sector 4. Was a personal best, but he's actually up on his own time, so that's a great start for him. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Maybe I might want to see if we can get a jump on board with Matt Simmons here in the number 95 It's Racing Esports entry as it comes down to this heavy braking zone. You're looking at about just where the curbing is on the left-hand side, and then just braking deep down into first gear and then just plucking through the gears. All this section here, this windy slalom section, just nice and flat, a little dab off the throttle, then straight back onto it nice and quick. Because how he goes through sector 5, he's actually gone purple again. So this is an exceptional lap by Matt here, and he's just coming through towards the backhand, turns 23, a blind right-hander. This can set people off because it is a wall that just comes out just right there. And then coming up through to the final corner, this section is really crucial. Just gets a bit tail happy there, but he might be able to hold it. As it's coming through to the line, plucking through the gears, holding it into fifth gear. Where does he go for his lap time? He's actually improved there into a 2 minutes 54.477. So 3 tenths over the 66 CP Motorsports Honda. Wow, what an incredible lap time that is.
Yeah, that's definitely a blistering lap time there, and he's really asserted his authority over well Diswood's original time from last night, and probably the rest of the field in this session as well.
Absolutely. So it's a solid time for Matt, and he's just parked it in the pit lane just to maybe refresh, just get his head around a bit more of a tweak in the tune. But I think if he's setting a lap time like that, I don't think he needs a tune, to be honest. I think he's actually quite all right when it comes to when it comes to, in a way, you could say just put the car in, just jump out of the car, just jump out of the lobby, and yeah, Bob's your uncle, and we'll set off with that, I guess. As we look through here, I'm looking through the grid now. I'm not seeing many runners coming through. I'm seeing Sir Slayer in 5th place there. He's on a lap. He's about point 0.4 behind on his time, actually. So I don't think he's going to improve this lap. So some new colours there for the number 55, and obviously your sponsors in MB Glass being the main sponsors for the It's Racing Esports. So obviously fitting for you guys just to have MB Glass as the main sponsor on your 55 and 95 respectively. As we see Sir Slayer coming down through towards the start finish straight. Yeah, he's just about 0.42, but he was quite consistent there. So a little bit more time for Sir Slayer to find, and he'll be able to get close to him. But Ridwan, so far, the fastest Nissan in the number 79, Robo Sport Racing there. If I look at his time here, his best time I'm seeing, it's about a 2 minute 56.6. So if we put him at that, that'll put him best. That will improve his time set by Loudy Darkness, but I'll only improve him just into 9th place there. So still more time to find in that 79 Robo Sport Racing car. As we look down through the field, and we have a late entry into the Shade On Racing Team, the number 26. We have SDRT Wiseacre, who was supposed to partner up with his teammate and good mate in SDRT Wasadon, both Novocastrians, both from Newcastle, not far apart from each other. And as we see Morgan just clipping the inside there, very common thing to do around this track with a very blind braking zone there and a hard turning zone onto the bridge there. I don't know about you, Jarman, but the turn onto the bridge is a little bit hard in these cars because it's just finding that right line just to not try and run too wide or compromise your speed onto the bridge.
Yeah, it's a very tough one. I know you sort of come in and sometimes the car can be unsettled going through that S bend beforehand, so that gets you a bit more difficult on the brakes and you run wide, or then you can even nail the apex and then accelerate too early, and there's just that little bump, I'll call it mid to exit of the corner, and if you're if you're accelerating too much over that, that can just throw you sideways onto the grass and into the bridge. So there's a lot to really take in through that corner, and it's going to be something that you're going to have to be right on for the whole 139 laps on Sunday.
It's going to be really tough for these drivers because how it is. It's, you could say in a way it's basically like a street circuit with the back with that kind of like it has the. You could say in a way it has that Albert Park kind of vibes there, where the top first part of the section is basically feels like a permanent circuit, and then it comes down towards this back end of the track where it feels like an actual road, kind of like you could say Bathurst in a way. So that's a very tight, very narrow, bit of wideness to the track. So I guess for drivers, it is challenging for these cars with these amount of power that these guys have on their right foot, with producing 736 brake horsepower, with the most powerful cars being the Lexus and the Hondas, and then a weight shedding of 897 kilos for the Nissan and Lexus, and 902 for the Hondas. So I guess you could say for yourself and for your partner in Matt Simmons, obviously the Honda, we have obviously talked about it just being maybe obviously being the favorite to take pole position and to maybe occupy the first couple of rows on this track. But how does it feel for you guys actually just to be driving this car around the track? Do you have to compromise the way you drive, or some sort of different driving technique that you guys need to adjust?
It we've sort of been playing around with the setups, to be honest, trying to get some more speed out of it. So that's probably taking a bit of adjusting to do. I mean, we're not running our Bathurst slash Kyoto setup, so it sort of requires a little bit of a different driving style because we can't use the aero to get us around the corner as much.
Mm. And I just see Matt there just going fastest again. So this could definitely be close to a very low 254, but I don't. But 253 around this track? Come on, surely not. That's going to be a very intense. That's going to be very awesome if Matt can get it. But I guess only one man can possibly do it. It could be Matt Simmons in the 95. It's Racing Esports. Honda NSX is coming through to Sector 5. He's he's point 2 up on his time, so it won't be a 53 here. But if he nails this next couple of corners, is where he did struggle a little bit on his previous fast lap just to try and get that car hooked around. But as we look onto the final corner here, just rounding up turns 24, he's got that much better this time round. A nice straight exit for Matt here. This is plucking through the gears, 4th through to 5th. How does he go for lap time? He's going to cross the line. It is a 254 flat. So, wow, that is an astonishing speed there by Matt. That is incredible. Almost a 2-minute 53 there, Jump.
Yeah, that's so close to a 253. He's probably egging himself on in that car at the moment as he heads through the first sector now. He'll be looking to go a bit faster, but a couple tenths down, so probably not the start to the lap that he's looking for.
As I scroll down through the field as well, I see Nightwalker's actually improved his lap time. So he's into the low 2-minute 55s here. So 2-minute 55.174. That actually puts him 0.1 ahead of Speedy Tyres here. So number 50 and Nightwalker 964s. I wouldn't count these guys out to be a potential podium threat here. I mean, we've barely seen the number 4 slash number 50 making a good charge or making a threat for the podium positions in the previous 2 enduros, but maybe this time round with Nightwalker and Duran 50, they could be a podium. They could be threatening a podium come Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, both of those CPM cars will definitely be threats throughout the race, of course. Can't discount the pit lane car as well, and also your entry. I think this is probably one of the races where everything seems as probably equal as you could possibly get it between all the cars. Maybe there's probably still a bit of an advantage for the Honda, but I think this one, as we saw in the 250 earlier in the year, it was pretty well anyone's race between the Lexus and the Nissan and the Honda.
Well, the last pole position that went for the 250 was that actually went to Punts in the 47 MSR Lexus, and he managed to get that over EBM Brandoso in the Nissan. So it was a Lexus and Nissan front row here, but obviously as time goes by between the 250 and the MB Glass 1500, it's obviously drivers have gotten used to the setup of the car, learning a bit more about the tuning aspect of how these cars perform at higher speeds. And I guess you could say that obviously for these guys, they're nailing it, and they're just getting their corners right, and everyone is coming through and learning the setups, learning the car, how it handles, whether you put too much through one corner or sacrifice one section of the track, and so you can have more advantage on the other side.
Yeah, it very much is a compromise between all of them.
Exactly. But on the subject of touring cars, Jama, you have made an announcement over the past couple of weeks here about the season 2022, and we do have one of the 2 new teams coming into the main series, into the Trackstars Racing Series touring cars. Starting in August, it is going to be the Intercontinental Esports Racing Group, and its team boss and owner, Benjo19, has joined us in the commentary box. Good evening, Benjo.
Hey, good evening, guys. How are you?
Doing very well, mate. We've got ourselves up and running for qualifying and for the second part of
Yeah,
qualifying.
been watching the stream. What a lap! I mean, Matt, 124 dead.
Yeah, it's an incredible lap there for.
That's almost unheard of in these specs, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. But obviously, talking to you guys about your main entries coming in for next year, how are you guys feeling once you got the call up to represent, or for you guys to be one of the top 7 teams for Trackstars Racing Series?
We were pretty happy. Like we were we were all in a group chat at the time, so you hear everyone's reaction through the like as soon as it's posted the announcement in the Trackstars Discord. It was just you need to check Discord. It was like we were all shocked because obviously it was, from what I believe, it was pretty close between us and WRT. So we were all pretty happy and started trying to get pairings and figuring out who's going with who.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you've got drivers that come from your team. Obviously, you've got Sir Slayer in the number 55 doing a solid job, putting a good performance in his car, the number 55 in 5th place. And then also you have your main driver in Rockabilly in the number 34, partnering alongside Brandosa. He's doing himself a nice job. He's about 3 seconds off the pace, and Sir Slayer's about 1.1 behind mid Matt there, so behind the fastest time set by Matt. So it's good performances by your guys. Obviously something to learn, and obviously when you have your drivers lineup, from what I read on your Discord, it's going to be a good showing for you guys, because you guys got some
Or there
really
might
good.
be some slight changes to that team list, but it's been pretty good for next season. We've got quite a few guys that are going to jump on board and help with race strategies and tunings and everything like that. So it's going to be full-blown team effort.
As you do, I guess. Obviously, you need to.
Yeah.
Everyone, not everyone's going to have a finalised team until at least April, when we have the new Honda,
new
or
specs and the
when we have
new.
yeah, exactly. We have the new specs
Yeah.
of the cars, and then we also have the formulas coming up first, and then we followed by the touring cars as well. So
Yes.
obviously things will change when time goes by. So we'll have to wait and see what you guys bring forward to the table for your lineup. So, but obviously you guys have started up pretty. It's been a very short career for your team. So just run us through like how the team started and why you guys decided to commit yourselves to Trackstars Racing Series.
So, hang on a second. Our team started basically just as a couple of mates wanted to. I think it was actually the mock endurance that you guys ran earlier in the year. We wanted to be able to put a couple of cars into that as a team and to be able to race together. And just over the last 6 months, the team has just grown exponentially. Like it's huge. We've got guys and girls from all over the world that are in the Discord and come and race with us and chat with us, and it's turned into more a community feel.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Trackstar side of things, yeah, it's going to be team racing, but everyone's still going to be helping out. So it's still that core belief going, if you can do something, come and help us.
Exactly.
It's not taking away from what our core values were when we started it.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, Benjo. Sorry about that.
That was my fault. I moved the mic so I didn't sneeze in.
That's all good. But yeah, obviously, in a way, for you guys, it's a very short career that you guys have brought along. That you and obviously Renegade have created in ISAR, and obviously you guys are making headlines or making your waves around the league series, and obviously now for you guys to actually have at least a secured position in Trackstars with us, it's obviously one of your good achievements as a team and as a whole group. So big congratulations to you and to your side of the group. and we can't wait to
Yeah,
see what you
we're
guys.
looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be a massive opportunity for everyone involved. So we do thank you guys for putting us into the Mad Series. We are also trying to slowly but surely organise tweets and sponsors and stuff like that to the team as well. One of them being support through Hackney and Advanced Simulation, who do all the driving cockpits. They're one of the next level's biggest suppliers here in Australia. So they support our guys with discounts and stuff like that, buying through them.
And that's good that you guys got some good support there. Got yourself some good package there and a good sponsor to help you guys campaign through season 22. So thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time, Benjo. That was a great chat with you, buddy. And yeah, like I said, big congratulations to you and your team for making season 22 a new season for intercontinental esports racing.
Yeah, that's it. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to GP7, what it can bring. Trackstars, what Trackstars can bring 2022. Obviously, with the touring cars, we're unsure if it'll be the Lexus RCF or the new Supra. But either way, I think the guys are pretty happy to be driving either. So I think they're just glad to be given the opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. All right. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Have a good night, and I hope you
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the coverage here, my friend.
All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good.
And that was Benjo, ISA Benjo 19 and his team, Intercontinental Esports Racing, joining us for season 2022, Jarman. So obviously, Jarman, I guess we know Benjo very well on our Discord. He's been with us for quite some time, obviously starting out in gridline racing, as well as, and then just making the move to ISA Racing. So have you seen him and you could say his team evolve in Trackstars?
Yeah, they've certainly come a long way from where they've started, and obviously made a few signings here and there, and some of those drivers have gone on to do some great things in the main series as well. The likes of Broccolilli, who's picked up some race wins. Seth Slayer's joined obviously my team for the Enduros and even filled in for Gabans at a few stages and done a very admirable job. So it's been very good for the team, and they've certainly got some drivers that they can lean on next year in their debut campaign in the main series.
Exactly, and they've got themselves a big squad, so we can't wait to see what these guys feel. But as we bring you back to the coverage here, we'll run through your lap times here. Leading the way, it is Matt Simmons in the 95. It's Racing Esports entry Honda NSX with a 2-minute 54 flat. So maybe for Matt, he's going to try and look himself to get into a low 253s before the end of the session. And then we have Nightwalker 964 with a 2-minute 55.172. And then closely, actually, no, Speedy Tires is ahead of him. So actually, Speedy's gone that little bit faster. So a bit of bragging rights there between Speedy and Nightwalker for Q2 here. So the CP Motorsport boys occupying second and third with Speedy ahead of Nightwalker. And then we have in fourth place, we have DJ in the 24 Pit Lane Esports Lexus with a 255.8. And then from what I'm seeing here, then we have Sir Slayer, a 2-minute 56.2 in the 55 It's Racing Esports. So again, still for the 4 Hondas in the top 5. So obviously strong competition for the MR Honda NSXs, with the fastest being DJ in the Lexus RCF. And then we look at guys behind, where Rid One's got a 2-minute 56, and then Jono Stan right behind us, 2-minute 57. So Jono's just struggling a little bit. He's been having a few little mistakes here, but maybe this lap as he's coming through, it might be an improvement. I haven't been able to see much of his lap and his progress, but I did see him have a few incidents. He is actually up on his time, so he's about almost 1 second up on his own sector there. So we stay on board with Jono Stan negotiating through that fast section of the track, coming in towards turns 23 and then into turns 24. Keeping that Lexus straight, coming into final corner, just try to hug it in, then go wide, and then tuck it back into the corner. coming through to this final section of the track, just plucking through the gears onto the main straight. Does he get into the 2m55s? He does. No, he doesn't. So he stays in the 56s, 56.3. So an improvement, but not overly much of, not much of an improvement on Jono. So lots of time to go. But as we are watching this coverage here, along with myself and It's Racing Jarmandels, we also have another guest commentator joining us, a guest commentator joining us in the booth here. It is actually the owner and the team manager of CP Motorsports. It is Chase Persh that runs CP Motorsports. Good evening, Chase. Very well, my friend. Obviously, you and your guys must be you as a team boss are very happy of how you're seeing things so far, with Woods setting the pace in Q1 with a 254.7, but then obviously he's not alongside Matt in Q2. Obviously you've got Speedy Tyres and Nightwalker filling the voids in those two cars. So how have you seen the qualifying so far, at least with your boys?
It's only qualifying. It's a long race, so obviously you want to be starting as far up in front of the grid as possible. But as I said, it's a long race, and anything can happen, as we've seen in numerous other Trackstar Enduro events.
As we almost see Sir Slayer just almost been it there on that final section before the long straight there. But yeah, as for you guys in general, you guys started off a bit of a slow start to the season back in February, back at Dragon Trail Seaside. You only had XX-16, who was the defending Trackstars Formula 2 champ in 2020, and then alongside your new signing in V-Papa AT. It was a bit of a slow start for you guys in both formulas and then the touring cars, but then you made a few signings along the way, grabbing obviously the biggest signing being Diswood 1, and then obviously keeping V-Papa AT as that second driver in the number 4 CP Motorsports Honda. So how have you seen the team evolve from February up to December?
Nerve-wracking, to be honest. No, look, like I said, a bit nerve-wracking. Like with Huzo, with other commitments and whatnot, we knew he had speed, but commitment-wise and all that sometimes just wasn't available. So hence signing a Diswood. Papa's been great number. I don't want to say a great number 2, but yeah, great support driver for Diswood. He's also claimed a win or two along the way, but unfortunately he's been victim of the internet connection. So he'd probably be a lot further up in the driver rankings too if it wasn't for Australia's great internet. But look, we've managed to sign a few good signings to fill in along the way. Duran killing the TS2 series and sport category formula. We've also got Nightwalker's been an outstanding call up for us as well in the last few rounds, and again for this weekend's Enduro. So we'll see some great pace out of those two paired together, and obviously Speedy and Diswood together. I think overall we've got a pretty strong lineup in both of the CP cars.
Absolutely, and I was talking with It's Racing earlier in the coverage that we don't really count out the number 50 snagging a podium come Sunday, but as obviously it is a very long race ahead of us, 139 laps spread over 5 stints. So drivers are going to be a mental game, that also but as well also just trying to keep the car on the track, as you've seen with some of these drivers here, just getting a little bit tail happy, a little bit running a bit wide, and that's what you expect to see in qualifying specs, because when it comes to the main race, obviously these guys won't really be taking those ambitious lines or just really going full send on some of the corners. You'll be seeing them going a little bit more conservative, just depending what position they're in.
Well, I think so too. Look, qualifying at the moment, it's all about full maximum commitment for this session. Getting your car up as front as high as possible before the shootout. Then obviously that happens. But yeah, look, it's where you want to be testing the absolute limits of the car in your practice sessions or qualifying sessions against your other main competitors all in the one session. So it's good to see where you are at, the car's at, and where your rivals are at as well. It gives you a good indication of possibly how you're going to fare on race day, to be honest. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what I want you to try and tell me is let's take you back to October, the Elite Breaker Mechanical Bathurst 1000, the last
Yeah.
few laps, Matt versus Diswood. Diswood goes for an outside move coming into Griffin's Bend. Obviously, Jarman probably can recall it as well, as he was probably watching on the sidelines. It was Diswood versus Matt for the final few laps there. How nerve-wracking was it for your driver in Diswood to try and defend off a 2015 GT Academy champion, obviously a top FIA World Tour driver, obviously been around doing FIA tours and online success, online victories and championships, even having victories and championships with Race on Oz. Obviously, a guy with such a good caliber, even a real world driver driving in the Nissan GTR for the Nissan GT Academy. So, how was it? How was Diswood after that race when he actually took victory away from Matt?
Well, let me tell you something. I had no idea who Matt was before Track Stars or anything like that. I'm like, who is this guy? What is he? What's the big deal? And then I heard all his credentials. I'm like, oh well, it's not just some blow in. They've got to fill the seat. This guy means business. So look, someone with his credentials and for Diswood to take the win on him, mate. Hats off to Diswood, and he earns it fair and square. It's as simple as that, you know. It's pretty much balls on the line, and you know, final laps commitment, and that was it. It was pretty much full throttle and go for it. You know, I know Diswood. I know the whole team was ecstatic, to be honest. You know, regardless of who your competition is, what credentials they have, 161 laps at Bathurst and coming away with the win is it's remarkable. It's simply remarkable. It doesn't matter who your opposition is, how good they are, or how bad they are. A win's a win, and you know, him and Speedy earned it fair and square. They had the speed, and yeah, it come down to a very pivotal win, and you know, it's put Diswood in a fantastic position to go for the championship win this weekend, possibly. So you know, and also the team's title. So you know, that it was. No, you're right.
Sorry to cut you off there, CP. Obviously, we'll get back to you very shortly. But Jarman, what a lap there by Matt Simmons there in the number 95. A 2-minute 53.787. The first driver to be in the 2-minute 53 barrier. You must be so happy for your driver to be getting that far ahead. He's about 1 second ahead of Nightwalker 964 there. So that's definitely nerve-wracking for you. And that's actually an awesome feeling for you guys in the 95.
Yeah, that's a very fast lap there, and I was watching the timing there as I was just punching numbers in and looked up and saw a whole bunch of purples, and I went, well, I better go and check this one out because it's going to be a good one by the looks of things. And I just missed the end of it.
Yeah, but he's got a full second over your boys in Nightwalker 964 and Speedy Tyres. So, but I guess for you guys, it's like you did say, it is qualifying, and obviously, come race day on Sunday, things can change. So, whether you guys got a better race car than a qualifying car, time will tell.
Well, I think it'll come down to the 5 stints, to be honest. Consistency and traffic, and you know, and pressure. Ultimately, it's what it's going to come down to. You know, how you want to strategically place your drivers in what stint to get their required amount of laps in, and also who's going to be starting, ending. There's a lot of strategy just involved with driver stints. You know, who's going with what, let alone the actual strategy within the race as well. So, you know, it'll all unravel itself on Sunday, I guess, with driver strategies. But race strategy will be a constant thing throughout the whole 1500k race, and you know, you won't really know what's happening until the very end. I think it'll be a very fast and frantic finish, I think.
Well, come Sunday, it only takes 1,500 kilometres to decide a champion. There's only 23 points between number 66 Diswood 1 and number 95 in It's Racing Jarman Dallas. So it's going to be a nail-biting finish for these guys to end the season of Track Stars Racing Series and for the EBM Track Stars Touring Cars Championship. So it's going to be a very close fight amongst these guys. Chase, obviously, for your first year at Track Stars Racing Series, bring a trophy home in the Porsche Cup with Diswood
Yep.
1 taking the championship away from myself, unfortunately. I couldn't.
Sorry.
I'll be coming after that in 2022. But yeah, obviously one trophy to your cabinet, and hopefully maybe you guys add another one come the end of Sunday afternoon.
Look, hopefully, fingers crossed, yes. But if not, we'll come back harder and stronger. I've got a lot of faith in my drivers, and they know they've got the speed. So, it's putting literally pen to paper and seeing what comes out on Sunday, I think.
Exactly right there. So thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time, Chase. Obviously, great to chat with you. And yeah, obviously we'll be keeping an eye on your boys come the end of the qualifying session.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. So that was Chase Persh, CP Motorsport team boss, managing Speedy Tyres, Nightwalker 964, partnering alongside both Duran 50 and Diswood in the number 66 and 55 respectively. But we've only got ourselves, what do we got, Jum? Maybe about 10 minutes to go, 15 or something to go?
About 11 minutes to go. So we started a minute late, unfortunately, but yeah, about 11 minutes left in this one.
There we go. But so far we have leading the way, obviously no surprises there. Mid-Matt with a 2-minute 53.787, 1 full second ahead of Nightwalker 964. But I'm actually quite surprised of how much faster Nightwalker is compared to Speedy Tyres. I usually think of it as being the other way around, don't you?
Yeah, I would have said probably about Kyoto time that you'd say that Speedy Tyres probably would have been the fastest of these four. When you compare Speedy, Diswood, Nightwalker, probably even include Papa and Duran, but yeah, you'd say Nightwalker's actually not far off of Diswood's actual pace. I think it's 0.08 between the two cars.
So yeah, so he set himself at 2-minute 54.877, and Diswood has set a 2:54.797. So just a bit over a tenth away. So not even a tenth away from being pipping Woods for P2, you could say. So I think provisionally we've got obviously the number 95 on provisional pole position with the number 66 in second place, and then we have the number 50 taking third place ahead of the number 24 in Viper Set and DJ. So the top three occupied by the three Honda cars and possibly the three favourites come Sunday afternoon. But time will tell when Sunday rolls around. And then I think, from what I'm seeing, that we see a Sir Slayer with a 2:55.601. That'll actually bump him up the order as well. So Gaban set a time of 2:58. And now we see Sir Slayer with a 2:55.6, so he'll be jumping ahead of myself in the number 1 Lexus Mashbars Racing into, I would say, 5th place there. Actually, yeah, 5th place. And then the number 1 drops down into 6th. But if we look through the timing grid, we see John Stan's got himself into a 2:56.532, and then we see Ridwan, who was in 6th place at 2-minute 56.8. So not long to go, as you said. We've only got ourselves about 9 minutes to go, so it's only so right on the cuffs of the outside the top 6 will be between John Stan and Ridwan F1. So it's basically a Mash Butts Racing versus Robbo Sport Racing rivalry, like we like to see in the past.
Yeah, of course. The big fight between those two last year for the team's championship, and Robbo Sport coming out on top. You probably would have said that Mash Spuds would have been the favourites this time around, but I think they've been let by CP Motorsports and It's Racing this year, so probably not quite the year you guys would have been expecting, but still not a terrible one by any means.
Absolutely not. Well, it's only been the last few rounds that we've only just started to finally extract the pace of our Lexus cars, and obviously trying to fight for you guys, like at least for yourself and Diswood, trying to be fighting amongst victories and podiums, and then obviously having DJ in the mix as well. So it's been basically been a top four amongst the four of us, and I think we could say it kind of like you kind of say it in a way. It's like, you know how you like the top four drivers in Formula One, and then you've got your top four drivers in track stars, and then you've got the best of the rest down the back of the field there. So you could probably mix the top four in the championship, while you say have the best of the rest in EBM Brandosa sitting in fifth place. But I guess you could say for Brandosa and the number 34, he's been, you could say, a very quiet assassin here, sneaking around victory back at the Red Bull ring, and leading the championship at one point.
Yeah, he's definitely put on some good performances, and obviously with EBM Motorsport unfortunately dropping out, he's very much a free agent at the moment. So any team manager would be very keen to snap him up and put them in a two-car lineup. So be interesting to see where he lands up for next season.
Exactly right. So as we look down through the field, I want to have a look at the drivers. So obviously we want to look at drivers such as Sirik, who's actually piloting the number 85 RoboSport Racing alongside Colin T24. So he's been a bit quiet as well. So the rise of Sirik this year in Trackstars, Jarman, has been phenomenal. Starting the year off perfectly in TS3, getting a clean sweep at the Nürburgring, and then improving his driver rating and his circuit experience lap time, elevating him into the TS2. And straight away, as soon as he got to TS2, two rounds, a podium on his first round, and then a podium in his first round, and then taking victory back at Spa in the TS2 race. So, and he's now been called up. Well, he did have his official main series debut driving in the number 47 Mashbuds Racing Lexus back at the Nürburgring. But now he's found himself home in the number 85 and at St. Croix as we see his lap coming through towards the checkered flag. Will he be able to get himself out of the 57s? He doesn't actually, so he still stays in the 57s. But like I said, Sirik is one driver that teams will be thinking, could I sign this fellow to be my number 2 driver, or could I sign him up to be a reserve for season 2022?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of great options out there, and he's certainly one guy that's proved himself across probably the last half of this year, starting out in TS3, as you said, and really working on improving himself across the whole year. He obviously improved that circuit experience time and, of course, his driver rating, which made him ineligible, and he very much welcomed the challenge of jumping up to TS2 and taking on the likes of Viper Z, Mint Matt, all those sorts of guys, Duram, of course, and even taking on Duram and beating him at Spa. So he's certainly risen to the challenge that's been presented to him, and probably passed all the tests with flying colours.
His speed tonight is just phenomenal. He sent me a Discord message saying that his pedals were messing about with him a little bit, but I don't see any pedals messing his lap. He's getting himself to the low 2-minute 57s. Obviously a bit off the pace amongst the rest of the field, but you could say amongst the drivers such as Budsy76 partnering alongside Coming For You in the 405 Lexus. Then you have the late comer in Morgan Davey in 10th place in the number 26, and then you have a regular driver in Dan 08 in the number 8 Shade On Racing team in 11th place there. And then we see Brock Lilly in 12th place with a 2-minute 57.3. So he's actually beating drivers that have either been in the main series for some time, or are only just actually playing that that important co-driver role as being a fast co-driver. But going off at his times here, he's a 2-minute 57.1, and his teammate Colin T24 last night set himself a 2-minute 57.4. So he's actually almost 3/10 faster than his teammate. So that's incredible to say. That's kind of like remarkable. You can say like it is a Lee Holdsworth and a Chaz Mostert kind of combination, where usually sometimes your co-driver is faster than the main series driver.
Yeah, the one scenario I can easily think back to was 2010 at Phillip Island, where I believe it was Whincup and Lowndes both had really poor qualifying sessions for the Phillip Island 500, and I think Scaife and Steve Owen went out and went faster than those two in qualifying, and obviously Roland Dane came out and said, well, maybe we should replace our main drivers with our co-drivers.
That's funny. Obviously, legends in Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes, who will no longer be racing in the Triple Eight team in the Australian motorsport and will be in Supercars Championship. So I think, well, I don't know if he's called an actual retirement for Craig Lowndes, so he might be still around, maybe doing a cheeky Bathurst Enduro maybe one more time. I didn't hear much news about it in the articles about his future plans, but we've only got about 2 minutes to go, Jarman, until the qualifying ends. Still the top 6 hasn't changed, but we still have Ridwan over John O'Stan 96, but still actually not able to get into the top 6 yet. So John O'Stan still lacking a bit of time around this track with a 2-minute 56.532. Almost about a full second behind myself with a 2:55.661. So very interesting to see. Very interesting to see why I'm actually faster than John O'Stan when it's usually the other way around.
Yeah, that might be an interesting discussion to have tonight and into tomorrow about maybe who does the shootout lap then.
Oh, actually, as I do say that, I do apologise. John O'Stan has actually got himself into the top 6 now with a 2-minute 55.8. So he's come through with a last lap, with the last 2 laps that set him a blistering time, at least for himself and his sake, a 2-minute 55.8. So that is a nice lap there for John O'Stan 96, and that is confirming the #1 status in the top 6 shootout for the MB Glass 1500. Elite Breaker Mechanical Track Stars Touring Cars Championship. So I think our top 6 is settled, Jarman. And any surprises that you see in that top 6?
I probably wouldn't say much of a surprise, but probably an honourable mention to Sir Slayer 1991. He's really put the effort in to get himself up to speed, and he missed the top 6 narrowly at Kyoto and Bathurst, and he's gone and put the work in and come out with a top 6 spot, so he'll be in the shootout tomorrow night.
It's great for him to see that, so it's really awesome for, at least for your team in a way, having the 2 cars in the top 6. And obviously we have the 4 Honda NSXs occupying the top 4 this evening, and then we have DJ in 5th place, and then we have John O'Stan in 6th. So obviously so far so good for the Honda NSX. That's not only rounding up the team's championship, but also the constructors as well. So I think we have the Hondas taking more victories than the Nissans and the Lexus this year in 2022. So obviously the constructors goes to the Honda team, and the team's championship is a very close championship amongst the CP Motorsports guys and the It's Racing Esports camp as well, with 3rd place belonging a comfortable position for Mash Butts Racing, followed by Pit Lane Esports in 4th place. So the teams is more or less done in that kind of sense, but it's obviously a big battle between, not only is it a battle for the drivers, but it's also a battle for the teams championship between It's Racing Esports and CP Motorsports in 2022.
Yeah, I think the gap's probably a little bit too far for It's Racing to catch up in the teams championship. You'd have to certainly rely on both the car 50 and car 66 having bad runs to reel in that gap. But who knows? There is that outside possibility of the Drivers' Championship, but I know as a team, certainly the It's Racing Esports squad of both cars are going to give it all their best and see what happens at the end and see how it shakes out.
As I'm looking through Speedy Tyres, he's actually coming through his lap. He's actually almost 0.4 of a second up on his time, so he's going to be looking to insert himself ahead of his teammate Nightwalker 964. So watch on board with Speedy Tyres coming towards the back end of this section as he goes to the fast slalom section here. This is another crucial section of the track where the heavy braking zone that leads to this windy section, whether you go flat, whether you lift off, he's actually lost a bit of time there. Jarman is about it was about 0.3 up. Now he's actually lost time, and he's 0.2 up on his personal best there. So not enough to beat Nightwalker, but it's going to be very close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. He needs a really good last sector here. A couple good runs for his final 2 corners, which are really hard to get right, but looking promising so far from him coming out of the final corner. Let's see what he does. He does a 254.6, so that will put him into second place here.
And not only does he set a 254.6, he's actually beaten his teammate in Diswood 1, who set a 254.797. So big. So that's just bragging rights amongst the CP boys with speedy tyres, getting it done on the final lap there. Just over 2/10 over his teammate in Nightwalker 964 in third place, and then we have Sir Slayer in fourth. I saw his lap, but he binned it on the last corner before the final straight there. And then we have DJSX Pointed in fifth place with John O'Stan not far behind him, I must admit, only about 0.06 behind DJ, so very close amongst the 2 Lexus drivers in fifth and sixth place. But and then again we look down the field, we see Ridwan in seventh place, holding himself into the low 256s as well. Unfortunately, not able to get a lap time in that gets him into the 55s. And then we have Sirik. That's, you could say, a big props goes to Sirik for 8th place. A bit of an underdog status for Sirik in 8th. And then we have Broccolilli in 9th place. Dano in 10th place in the number 8 Shadon Racing Team entry Nissan GTR, with Budsy 76 in 11th place. And then hanging back in the pit lane is Morgan Dave in the number 26.
Yeah,
so,
he'll probably insert himself into 10th place, just looking at those times.
Okay.
He's about 3/10 above Dano.
Right, okay. So unfortunately, where we had SDRT Wysecker getting into the top 6, it turns out to be Sir Slayer 1991 actually bumping the 144 off that position of that top 6. So the number 144 or 20, or I'm not so sure if it's 26. So the number 26 of the Shadon Racing Team entry for Wiseacre and Morgan Davey is been knocked out of the second part of qualifying, and they will not take part in the MB Glass top 6 shootout.
Yeah, probably a disappointing result for the number 144 Nissan, but of course there's a long race on Sunday, and I know Wiseacre is looking pretty strong for his speed so far, so he might be one to look out for in the race.
When does Wiseacre not have that much speed? Obviously, we saw in his qualifying, he was just ahead of me. It was funny enough, he was actually just ahead when it came to at least with 5 minutes to go, he was about 0.05 ahead of me, and you were about 0.1 ahead of me in that last section of qualifying. And then that last lap, it just went bang straight into 4th place. And yeah, I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting maybe a little bit more from Morgan Davies. I can see he's in the pits. He's been staying in the pit lane for about 33 minutes, so he probably just was happy with his time, couldn't extract more of the car. Obviously being thrown in the deep end with the setup and how the car balance is performing. So probably as you expect for a latecomer in Morgan Davey, but unfortunately for these guys, they're out of the top 6. So as we have our cars lining up at the back end section of turn 3 at the beautiful St. Croix C layouts, we have Matt, Speedy, Nightwalker, Sir Slayer, DJ, and John O'Stan 96 in the top 6. Those cars will be taking part in the Trackstars touring cars sponsored by Lead Breaker Mechanical in the MB top 6 shootout, which will take coverage right after the Trackstars TS2 Championship touring cars at 8:30 tomorrow night Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So obviously breaking news for your guys, Jarman. Looks like unfortunately one of your drivers in Matt might not be able to qualify the car.
Yeah, it's been known throughout the week, and obviously a few others in the group know about it as well, that Mint's got some other commitments on tomorrow night, so well, not sure if it's unfortunately or fortunately, but yeah, I have the honour of participating in the shootout, top 6 shootout for my last ever full-time race. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, obviously you've got the whole track to yourself. You'll be going last. I guess in a way it is fitting for your final round in the Touring Car Championship, and for you to drive last in the top 6 shootout. That'll be it'll be an emotional lap for you. Obviously saying farewell to the touring cars full time, but obviously we might be able to see you as the co-driver in 2022 as well.
Yeah, I know that's certainly the plan at the moment. Obviously, we'll see who my teammates are, or drivers that will be driving for me, and we'll see where the championship is and what other co-drivers we have available to us. That we'll see who gets assigned where.
So as we look through the qualifying order, as our night 2 of Trackstars Racing Series MB Glass 1500 at St. Croix, the order for our top 6 shootout is the 95, the 66, the 50, the 80, the 24, the 55, and the number 1 in the top 6. And obviously in a top 6 shootout, that will be reversed. So the first car to lead the way will be the number 1 Mash Spuds racer in myself and John O'Stan 96, with Sir Slayer and Gabans in the 55 followed out second, and then we have Viper Z and DJ coming out in third, and then we have the 2 CP cars in Duram and Nightwalker, and then Diswood and Speedy Tires, and then yourself and Matt leading out that final lap of the top 6 shooter. So all to play for tomorrow night. Obviously we can't make our predictions yet because we're going to be a bit biased of who will take pole position, but obviously I can say it's going to be a very close top 6 shooter. So make sure, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell, because the top 6 shootout for the MB Glass 1500 will be coming to you thick and fast tomorrow evening. But on behalf of myself and It's Racing, as well as our guest commentators in Benjo 19 and CP Motorsports Chase Persh, we'd like to thank those guys so much for tuning in, for jumping on board, and for you guys for watching the stream. Thank you so much for this evening, and we will see you guys